just west of Copenhagen. It is in the city of Roskilde, and Roskilde is where all our kings and queens are buried. In that city we have a cathedral. It's not quite as nice as the one you have here in Barcelona, I must say. It's a very small one. We were never rich, but they actually built a new incinerator there to look a little bit like a cathedral. There has been a little bit discussion about whether that is blasphemy or not, but generally it has gone down quite nicely to make a statement of the facility. So I would say these plants need not be horrible industrial-like facilities that you hide away somewhere, that you cannot be proud of. Not at all. They can be a statement. And I'm looking forward to be able to ski down this particular incinerator, because it will have the skiing slope. And I really look forward to that. Okay, so what about the politicians? Will they support this? Politicians normally, I don't know about your politicians, but our politicians in Denmark can think not more than 4 years ahead, because that's the next election. So they are a little bit jumpy, or can be, but not when it comes to waste incineration plants, because they're used to them. But generally, of course, they know that we need biomass and other non-fossil fuels to be able to supply energy to our society in the future. And we can explain that life cycle analysis show that this is a benefit to the society. And we can also show that it is not a matter of recycling or not. You know, there are a lot of good facts that can be used to alleviate the fears of our politicians. And for example, even the Green Party in Germany has now acknowledged that waste incineration has a role to play in how to handle waste in the future. Okay, so the experience from Denmark is that 100 years of living with the beast has meant that we are not afraid of the beast. We also are quite comfortable with the fact that there hasn't been any bad stories. We haven't had any big pollutions, explosions. You know, when there's a problem about waste in Denmark, it's always about smell from biogas or smell from composting facilities. That is when people are complaining. And the government and political parties have supported this for a lot of time, so nobody's making it an issue in elections. And the fact that it's a non-profit is seen by the public as a guarantee that they're not doing this just to get our money. And also the fact that we need to not put stuff in landfills is very important for us. And perhaps also very important is that people know if they live in an area where there's district heat supplied by the incinerator, they generally have very cheap heating. So we like to have cheap heating, because heating is a very expensive part in your family budget in Denmark. Okay, then to my conclusions. Waste incineration is an environmentally sound treatment technology. It's not the only one. You may now have listened to me and think this guy has matches in his pocket and he wants to burn everything. No, I don't. I'm just concerned that there's a lot of countries in Europe and outside Europe where people are very worried about incineration and are not necessarily getting all the right experience and information about this. So for me, it is not whether you do this or that, it is about applying all the tools in your toolkit so that you have a good integrated system to be organized. But it certainly is a well-proven technology. It has been running for many, many years. It is, as I said, critically important that it's integrated into all the other waste management activities. The emissions of dioxin and furans, not a problem. It's not a problem. And even small-scale plants can be very efficient if you balance them with the local energy need. It doesn't have to be huge facilities. It can be facilities suited to the societies. But experience in Denmark show that you shouldn't maybe build anything less than 10 ton per hour. Less than that, it's probably going to be a bit expensive in your investments. But the 20, 30 years of continued revenue from sale of energy is also really important, actually more important than the investment that you're making. I think also there's scope for increasing this technology in Spain to achieve higher landfill diversion rates. And I think also there is some scope here, despite the fact that it's wonderful and warm, and from my country we run down here every summer because we need the sun and we envy you this wonderful weather that you have. I think you can still in certain cases find use for the heat that you're producing for industrial purposes, making beer, or hospitals, as we've heard today. That's really all I wanted to say. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them when I'm allowed to by the moderator, or later today. Thank you very much.
Moltes gràcies, senyor Christensen. Tot seguit donem pas al senyor Manuel Serna, que ens parlarà de la visió i tendències de la gestió de residus i la valorització energètica a l'Europa del Nord.
Okay, we have just seen the Denmark example. It's the top of Europe, next to Germany and Austria and Holland too. Now we're going to the other side of the coin, or the other side of the European Union, the Eastern European countries, which are the worst case at the moment. But not everything is like that. So our outline for today, I will give you a short introduction to our company because it's related to expertise in waste to energy, and I think most of you will be interested in hearing this information. And I'll give you also an overview of the waste management in the EU 12, and also what are each country doing in this direction, waste incineration. Okay, first of all, I want to go back to the very beginnings. What are the three of the biggest problems that humankind is facing at this moment? And you can see here the non-renewable energy sources that we have available are limited in amount and therefore limited in time. For example, for crude oil, there are reserves estimated to be for 40 years and resources to be for extra 22 years. The resources means that they are there, so this amount is there, but the technology does not exist to take out these resources. So 62 years is very, very little time. I think my grandchildren won't meet crude oil, for example. This makes another problem, of course. Greenhouse gases and the global temperature. In the afternoon, we saw a very detailed presentation about global heating, global warming, so I won't go much into detail. Just that we are in a moment at this time that we have to choose in which direction we want to go. Either we want to take the red scenario and have like 3 degrees more in the global average, or take the yellow-orange line and stay like we are at the moment. And we know, of course, that if we increase a couple of degrees from now, this will be catastrophic for many countries like Holland, for example, and other islands in the world. And of course, another problem that we are facing, waste generation in Europe is increasing. There are examples like Catalonia. We saw today that they are reducing amount of waste, but in global terms, waste generation is increasing in Europe. And I will go into deep information later. Okay, what does the European Union tell us about waste? It should be treated, and these are the steps. We already saw like 10 times this slide. First one is we need to avoid waste creation. The second, reuse. Third, recycling. Fourth, energy recovery, including waste to energy, of course. And the last is disposal. Here, I want to say very clear that recycling and energy recovery are not enemies, they are friends. And our enemy should be disposal. Landfilling of untreated waste should be completely avoided. So these two guys are friends, and our enemy is disposal.